everyone. Welcome to the Multifamily Deal Structuring Monday. Today, our guest is Loren Jacobs. Loren is a proud father of two and a passionate husband. His family and he reside in Bashaw, Alberta, Canada. After graduating with a master's degree in neuromuscular physiology, he worked in stem cell research for 4 years before switching gears and becoming a power engineer. Loren and his wife own and operate a commercial gym, single-family real estate portfolio, and are partnered in a Black Angus cattle operation. With regards to real estate, Loren is a fifth-generation real estate investor with experience operating single-family, commercial retail, small business, new development, and multifamily syndications. He currently has an equitable interest in 331 units, with 72 more under contract. His passions include spending time with his family and raising children, giving back through local charities and his humanitarian work, providing educational and rehabilitative services to physically disabled children in Africa. Here's the interview. Hi, Loren. Welcome to the Multifamily Deal Structuring Monday, where we will discuss all about your first GP multifamily transaction. Thank you for joining us here in the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Jefferson. I really appreciate you extending the offer to bring me on. I know you do a lot, and you add a lot of value to your network. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you too. I've known you in the Warriors group, established this underwriting group within the Warriors. So I appreciate that one also.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah. I'm sure I learned just as much as you, if not more. So.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I guess tell us about yourself.
Okay, I'm a husband of a Canadian. I met my wife down in Canada. We have, up in Canada, we have 2 kids, a 4-year-old son, a 1-year-old daughter. They're amazing. You know, they're the whole reason we're doing this. They're the best. They're a lot of fun. They provide us with a lot of joy. And let's see, right when my first son was born, we started getting into real estate shortly thereafter because we realized that we needed something more. We didn't want to work the W-2, the 9 to 5 for the rest of our lives. We wanted more time to spend with our children and with our family. So we did a deep dive into how we could accomplish that goal, getting that time freedom, giving more to our family and giving more to those around us. And, through a ton of self-development and self-improvement, we finally landed on real estate and a little purple book by Robert Kiyosaki. And that led us down the single family road. We were down for a couple years, and just earlier this year, back in January, we attended Rod Cleve's multifamily boot camp live in LA, and wow, was that a game changer. So here we are today.
Yeah. Prior to the multifamily, do you have any real estate experience?
Yeah, we have a few single family homes that we own, self-manage, rent. We've done live-in flips. We have 2 commercial retail units. So we have some smaller scale real estate experience. Also, my mom is a real estate agent, and she has started her own property management company. My grandpa's a managing broker. Actually, even 2 generations above my grandpa, they've been in real estate. So technically, I'm the 5th generation in our family of someone being involved in real estate and real estate investing.
Yeah, that would be a plus, really, at least knowing real estate and stuff. Yep.
Absolutely. Lots of experience and knowledge to draw from.
Mhm. Yeah. Then, by the way, like, you're currently located in Canada, right?
Yes, yes. So like I mentioned, I'm a US citizen, born in Colorado, raised in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Shortly, actually during my very last year in college, I went down to Puerto Vallarta and met my wife down in Mexico. As I mentioned, she's from Canada, and eventually, I ended up moving up here, and we're married and started a family. So, yes, we live in Alberta, Canada. We're about 7 hours north of the Montana border.
Oh, nice, nice. Then, yeah, I know, like you mentioned about Radcliffe. Like, how did you end up in multifamily?
That's a good question. So we realized, at least the way we were doing it, of course, it's possible to scale very quickly in single family. The way we were doing it, we were saving, putting, 5, 10% down, and acquiring, one or two single family homes a year, um, commercial retail thrown in there, and some other things. And while that was, fruitful and a lot of really good experience, I certainly wouldn't take that back. It wasn't getting us to where we wanted to be as quickly as we wanted to get there, right? So we started looking at ways, how can we scale? How can we do this faster? How can we meet our goals and get that time freedom to spend with our family more quickly? Um, And around that same time, I happened upon Rod's Lifetime Cash Flow podcast, and I devoured that podcast. I probably listened to 300 episodes in the last year and a half, and so after a few months of listening to that podcast, I realized it's time to go to the live event. If he gives even as much value as he does in one of his podcast episodes, it's going to be worth it. And of course, he delivered much more.
Yes,
So,
yes. Yeah. Then I guess like yeah, I'm on the same boat. Like I checked among all the different coaches and ended up with like Radcliffe. So it was a great,
mm,
great experience. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Then let's talk about your first deal in multifamily. Like, what's the source of this deal? It,
Okay, so interestingly enough, of course, as you were required to, I networked my butt off in LA when I was at Rod's multifamily boot camp. And one of the gentlemen I met there was, or he is, a property manager down in Corpus Christi, Texas. And we ended up staying in contact thereafter for a few months. And he had reached out to me asking if I would take a look at some numbers for a deal that he'd run across. I did, and we met on a few different Zoom calls and went over the information, and he had eventually asked me to if I would partner on the deal with him, and the numbers looked great, and so that was an obvious yes please from me. And from then on out, I did everything I could to add as absolutely much value to the team. So really it just comes down to networking. I found that deal because of somebody in my network that I had maintained contact with and added value to.
yep, yep. I think that's the key importance of the to the listeners. Like, the networking factor is really, really like a must in the multifamily space because it's a team effort. It's a group.
Absolutely huge, so important. And it's more than just networking. Networking is important and knowing people is important. But anytime I meet or network with somebody, I want them to remember me as somebody who they want to work with in the future. And how I do that is try to just add as much value as possible. Um, you know, maybe something that's not even asked for. If I can go out of my way and help or be of value to somebody, I hope they remember that in the future, and they say, hey, I want to work with Loren because I know he's going to go above and beyond and do far more than what's asked.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like whenever you must probably like at least when you're networking, don't get something first, like give value, like even for the ones that you want to network with, the more experienced folks, ask them like what value you can add instead of like
Abs-
asking help. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep,
absolutely,
that's really, yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, then this property, I think, yeah, it's in Corpus Christi. How many units was that?
46 units.
46. Yeah, then this is what class of property?
C class,
C class. Okay.
middle C class.
Yeah. Then what's the story of this property? Like any reason for selling from the owner?
Yeah, so a little bit of an interesting story. The owners have a very strong foothold in single family homes in Corpus Christi. They own 200 plus single family rentals, and they self-manage it. Their whole portfolio themselves, along with their children, or did. They had also started picking up a few multifamily properties, larger apartment communities, and I think they had quickly realized that the single family realm did not adequately prepare them for the multifamily industry and niche. They had one of their sons was managing their multifamily portfolio, and shortly after acquisitions, he had jumped ship and decided to go do something else. So now they were stuck also managing their multifamily portfolio, and I think it was overwhelming and burdensome. They'd tried to hire a third-party property manager who ended up embezzling from them, and they fired her. So it was just a bit of a headache for them. And my partner down in Corpus Christi had a pre-existing relationship with these owners because he had purchased an asset from them previously. And they came to him and said, hey, this thing is an absolute headache. Are you interested in purchasing this? And that's the story, and that's kind of how the ball got rolling.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, like having this kind of you don't, yeah, it's hard to trust anyone nowadays, then especially this embezzlement.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Referrals. You got to get referrals from people you know and trust, and
Yeah.
again, just goes back to the network. If you have an expansive network, you've got a lot of people to ask for good referrals, and hopefully a lot of different markets.
Yeah. Then regarding the T12 and rent roll, when you got this deal, like were you able to get a hold? I know like this probably like a mom and pop kind of owner.
Mm-hmm.
Then were you able to get a T12, or you kind of reconstructed?
Yeah, we did get a rent roll. They did provide us a rent roll monthly. It was pieced together on an Excel spreadsheet, but it was a rent roll. There was the T12 or any form of P&L history whatsoever was non-existent. So we tried to piece together what we could through invoices and POs and anything that we could get our hands on, right? Service agreements, other contracts. Fortunately, the partner that I've referred to is a local property manager who has experience in similar assets, similar class, similar size, right down the road from the subject property, and he was instrumental in allowing us to recreate a T12 and to build a pro forma that, you know, we had a high degree of confidence in.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Like, I think when vetting for the partner, you need to have someone that's local because they know the pulse of the market better.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Then regarding the rent roll and then the P&L, were you see? I mean, any red flags that you recall?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was no P&L, so no. I mean, I guess that's a red flag in of
Yeah.
itself of you know, opportunity of value because of mismanagement. The rent roll, so there are 22 storage units at this property, and they were on the rent roll, and there were only, you know, 5 of them, if I recall, 5 of them out of the 22 that were being rented out. And so we had asked, like, why is there something wrong with these? Or are they damaged? Are there any problems? And, you know, the owners just kind of shrugged and said, no, they're just, people don't want to rent them. Like, well, are you renting them to the, you know, only tenants, or are you marketing them? Are you marketing them to the general public? Do people know that they're available? So anyways, that was another, you know, opportunity right there. There's no reason almost all, if not all of those storage units should be rented out. They were in good condition and you know, good size, very usable. So that was you know, another red flag, if you will, for you know, opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Then yeah, what was the original purchase price on this property?
There was really, I mean, the purchase price we came to was 2.95, and after, you know, due diligence and other findings that some were and some were not originally disclosed, we ended up negotiating a seller credit of $340,000, because there were, you know, 6 down units that needed extensive repair. There were, you know, there were some other findings during due diligence that that were not disclosed, and you know, we would not have known about prior to due diligence. So we had agreed on a $340,000 seller credit in order to keep the deal alive, and the sellers understood and were agreeable to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess yeah, for the listeners who doesn't know seller credit, like if you can maybe explain what seller credit means in a yeah.
Sure. So a seller credit, okay, so you go into due diligence and there are findings. Okay, you scope the sewer lines, and there's a collapsed sewer main, right? You of course would not have known about that before scoping the line unless the sellers disclosed that, and they may not even have known about that. That's can be a very expensive fix, so that's probably going to change your numbers some, right? So at that point, you have a couple different options. One would be to adjust the purchase price. You could lower the purchase price by X amount, or 2 would be to, you know, request a seller credit. What a seller credit is, that means that the purchase price remains the same, but at closing, the sellers credit back $50,000 in essentially cash. They just leave $50,000 in your escrow account. So it's, when we say a $340,000 seller credit, that means the purchase price remains at 2.95 million. However, you know, we're positive $340,000 in our escrow account at closing.
Okay. Then this kind of 340,000 remains on your bank where you have all the CapEx, I guess, all the raising.
Right. So you know, again, it depends how you've structured the deal, and it depends on your financial institution. How that's worked for us is that's gone into our CapEx budget, which is held in escrow by the, by our bank, and they will release funds and draws as CapEx items have been completed.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep. Yeah, thanks for the explanation. Yeah, then for the economic vacancy of the property when you bought it, like what's the economic vacancy?
It was actually pretty good. It was 16% economic vacancy, and that may not sound good at first, but keep in mind there were 6 down units, so that's 13% that you're not collecting on right there, right? So they averaged 1 or 2 additional vacancies, above and beyond the 6 down units over the course of while we were under contract and underwriting the deal.
Okay, then going now to the I guess the financing portion. How was the financing breakdown looks like for this deal?
Okay, we found a regional bank that offered actually quite good terms. So because we were below 90% physical occupancy, we did not qualify for agency debt. So we found a regional bank, and the offer we ended up going with was 4.25% interest rate at a 5-year fixed term. And the reason we were okay with that 5-year fixed term is because there's no balloon payment at the end of that 5-year term. We automatically roll over into another 5-year term. The catch is that the interest rate at that 5-year mark is, will be adjusted to market. There's a prepayment penalty. I believe it's 321, and 75% loan to cost, 75% of the closing costs, and CapEx budget rolled into the principal loan amount. Yeah, I think that pretty well covers everything. So we were really excited with that opportunity.
Okay, yeah.
So basically after year 3, we can, or at year 3, we can refinance in year 3 or 4 with no prepayment penalty.
Yeah, no, that's nice. Like, how much was the loan amount again on this?
The loan amount, well, the purchase was $295, 75% of that. I don't have that in front of me. I'll have to pull that up.
2.95. Okay, so it's roughly 2.2, I guess.
2.2, 2.3 in there.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have that in front of me, Jefferson.
I don't know, no worries. So at least 2.2, 2.3 million. Then the CapEx budget for this was around how much, if you recall? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up. Okay, total CapEx budget, 328,000 roughly.
Okay, nice.
And principal loan amount, 2.34 million.
Yep. Then for the reserve, like did the bank ask you for any reserve or rainy day fund? I know agency you need, but yeah.
Yeah, what we did is we put in $100,000 in our reserve budget. Our business plan is to refinance into agency debt, and we're anticipating that agency debt will require 12 months P&I. $100,000 is not quite 12 months P&I, principal and interest, that is. So we've also set aside a budget to have 12 months principal and interest available at refinance.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then yeah, what's the loan interest on this?
4.25.
4.25. Okay. Then so it's kind of, this one will be loan to cost, right? I guess the rehab was also put into the loan.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Then I guess like for the listeners, like there's a difference between loan to value versus loan to cost. So loan to value is just the down payment. I mean, the, let's say that 80-20, so 80% of the is the loan. Then loan to cost is like you're adding into the full purchase price the rehab cost, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Loan to cost.
It's there is a difference. You know, the value of the property and the cost at which you were acquiring the property may be two different numbers,
Correct.
right? So loan to value versus loan to cost.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Then what's the investor split on this property?
70-30 split, 70% to the limited partners, 30% to the general partners, with a 7% preferred return to the limited partners.
Then yeah, I guess like if you can, I guess discuss about the business plan again on this property.
Sure, sure. So there's 6 down units, 6 units that are not generating any income whatsoever. So the big part of the business plan is to renovate, to rebuild and bring online those 6 down units, and to start generating income from those 6 units. And we calculated that would add about $53,000 in net rental income a year. Of course, that's going to significantly raise your NOI, and we know that, you know, any bump to the NOI is an exponential increase in value. So not only are we earning more income on a monthly and annual basis, but we're also increasing the value of the asset. That's a big piece right there. The other big piece is replacing the mom and pop, you know, self-managed style with professional management, and improving, you know, some operational things, making the operations more efficient through, you know, rent collections, putting the right residents, you know, in the asset, getting rid of the wrong residents, not renewing, you know, certain leases, and things like that. There are also a few other capital improvement items, you know, just looking at making the community a little nicer place to stay, you know, a little more community oriented. We're adding in some, you know, picnic areas, table areas, and you know, barbecue and grilling space, some dog or pet waste removal bins, and you know, bag dispensers, and some things like that. Some security cameras, so people feel safe, you know, more comfortable where they're living. Upgraded exterior lighting, some things like that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Then what's the IRR on this deal, like in the average cash on cash?
All right. The IRR on this, we projected at 16% plus, average cash on cash 12% plus. This deal is, you know, cash flowing quite well, and will continue to, you know, cash flow even better when with these 6 units online. The average annual return, we're looking at, you know, north of 18%. So we are projecting to just about double an investor's, you know, capital in 5 years.
Yeah, nice.
And we're, you know, we're planning on probably more of a, you know, 7 to 10 year hold. with a refinance in year 3.
Yep. Yeah, I think also for the listeners, like when you're looking for, let's say, something that you want to invest in, you need to always look at this the average cash on cash and the AAR, which is the average annual return. So you can treat the AAR as kind of the interest on your money. How much is it earning? So
Yeah,
that 18% is really good. So it's usually the range of 18 to 20%. That 18 is, yeah, that's
yeah,
nice.
that's a really attractive number. You know, if you can, I mean, if you can average 18% over several year span, that's an excellent return.
Yep, and a cash
So
on cash of 12. Yeah, that's also.
yeah, so we're really happy to offer those, and it was, anyways, an excellent opportunity, and you know, we're happy to uh, provide an excellent opportunity to our investors.
Yeah, that's great. Then let's go to the next section of our show, which is all about the due diligence. If you can explain like what the different due diligence that was done on this purchase.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a bit interesting, you know, in the midst of COVID and everything going on, you know, you've got to be extra layer of careful there. So there was the on-site due diligence, you know, walk through every unit, and just as, you know, the whole process with the the mom and pop owners being less than organized, we'll say, it was a bit of a headache for those that went to the on-site due diligence. But you know, we ended up getting through every unit. We took pictures, we cataloged any deficiencies, or you know, made notes of any findings. There were some. There were quite a few units that were missing. You know, HVAC units, or they were in disrepair. So that was something that we had to factor into the budget, the capital expenses budget. Then, you know, we went through a series of inspections. We had a plumbing inspection done, an electrical inspection, a foundation, a structural inspection. The pool was inspected, and I believe we had the roofs inspected. So several inspections, you know, to coordinate, to you know, to kind of sort through the findings and take a look at, you know, what was kind of some fluff, because you know, if you've ever seen an inspection report, it's a full inspection report can be 100 pages with everything under the sun, and so there's a lot to kind of thumb through there, the you know, the real findings versus the findings that are just taking up space. Let's see, we with the 6 down units, you know, we had interviewed and brought several contractors on site to take a look and give us bids for you know, remodeling the 6 down units, and we had to go, you know, vet each and every one of those contractors. We had to you know, make a decision, and you know, all that information this whole time we have to, you know, update and dump into our underwriting and make sure everything still is looking good based on all the updated information. We didn't get much in the way of financials from the sellers, but again, you've got to kind of do a little bit of investigative work and thumb through anything that you do get, leases, and you know, there was a lease audit that was done. So it's extensive. It's a lot of work, and it certainly takes a team of people. And I'll tell you, 30 days, 45 days, whatever you have, we had 30 days. It goes by pretty quick. So
30 days for the
due diligence.
Wow, nice.
Right,
Wow.
right.
So did it took like the full 30 days when you did like all this lease audit to the all the physical due diligence?
Yeah, pretty well. It
The,
took, we waited about 2 weeks to get all of the information that we requested from the sellers. And, we were still missing a lot of information that we requested and that they agreed contractually to give us. So we really had to decide, okay, is this, anyways, we were comfortable with enough with the information we had to proceed. But contractually, our due diligence period did not start until we received all of the scheduled information that we requested. Uh, anyways, we ended up, agreeing that the information that we received was ample. After understanding we weren't going to get any more information, and decided to proceed from there. So that's when our 30-day due diligence period started. Right, so that's important contractually to delineate that it does not start the day that the PSA is signed. It should start the day that you receive all of the information you've asked for, because you can't completely start your due diligence period until you have all that information.
Yep, that's a good point, especially those people who are coming from the single family world where you're always used to have like I have a PSA, then I have 10 days due diligence, then I have this closing date. In the multifamily, you cannot do a fixed date.
Yeah,
Everything should be a
yeah,
relative date.
yeah. You do one quick walkthrough and, get one home inspector and you're done. So
Correct. Yep, yep. And I think one point also is that Loren mentioned is the actual due diligence doesn't start until you receive all the documents. So whenever you're specifying your due diligence, it's not a date that you're specifying, but the number of days in relative to getting all the documents on hand. So
absolutely right.
that's one important.
Due diligence period ends 30 days after all of the documents requested in, Schedule 1 are received. Right. Yeah, that's how a PSA should be phrased in my opinion.
Okay. Then, yeah, one interesting question is like any gadgets that you brought during the due diligence. I know people are doing like, oh, they have drones, they have 360 camera.
No, we didn't. I mean, we took pictures, of every unit, of any findings, anything that stood out. Any fancy gadgets? No, we were nothing too fancy. We had updated, you know, Excel spreadsheets with each unit and any findings, and was it an updated unit? What kind of flooring was in there? How did the appliances look? How old is the hot water tank? How old is the air handler, the HVAC unit? Are there pets? Are the pets on the lease?
Yeah.
So it's a lot, because you've got to coordinate some of those things with your lease audit. You've got to coordinate some of those things with the rent roll and update your underwriting every step of the way.
Okay. Yeah. Then, yeah, I guess let's go to the next section is the capital raising. I think you mentioned about how much capital that you need to raise for this deal.
We raised right at $900,000.
Okay. Yep. Then, do you recall like how many investors participated and what's the average investment?
Off the top of my head, I want to say that we have about 12. We have about 12 investors on the LP side, but also the partners on the GP side put in, they infused quite a bit of capital into the deal as well.
Mm-hmm.
So on the LP side, I would say the average is 60,000.
Okay. Yep. Then how many days did it take for the whole days or weeks, the capital raise?
3 days.
Wow, nice.
3 days. So when you have such an exciting deal, it does a really good job of selling itself. But, we also had a really strong team in place. And so I think that portrayed a lot of confidence onto investors, and it filled up very quickly. So we were really excited about that.
Yeah, I guess like to the listeners who are doing it, I mean, interested in on the passive. Yeah, sometimes like these deals that's really hot, it will run so fast. Sometimes it's just 24 hours. Then, so if you really trust the person, I think just go and get it, like transfer or sign the PPM, whatever, right away.
Yeah, that's the big thing is you have to trust the operators, because that's probably the most important piece of the puzzle, right? You've got to be excited about the market, and of course the deal itself needs to make sense. But this was a relatively small raise, so that's part of the reason why the raise went so quickly is we weren't looking to raise $2, $3, $5 million. We were sub $1 million, and so it didn't take very many investors to get there.
Yep. Then for the closing, do you recall like how much was the closing cost roughly?
Oh, give me just a moment. I should be able to pull that up for you. Roughly closing costs were about $60,000.
60. Okay.
And keep in mind there was no broker involved, so there was no 3% broker's fee.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then yeah, I think this will be good. Like usually I ask the people, I mean the guests, all these closing costs, because sometimes people will just assume, okay, I know like there's a rule of thumb of 3%, but because I heard some like even was more than 3% because of some factors. So at least I'll bring this up to the listener up. It's on your own judgment, like how much closing costs, but at least based from all these case studies, so these are the range. So okay.
Yeah, that's a piece that you don't want to, you don't want to mess up on, because there are a lot of extra costs in there. Your legal fees, your bank may come up with some just so do your homework and make sure you've got all your ducks in a row, you've got all your expenses accounted for, and you've had those conversations with your lender, or your mortgage broker, whoever you're dealing with the title company, with your legal team, with the broker or the brokerage, if you're working through a broker. Have those conversations and make sure you're accounting for all of those expenses, because you don't want to get to the closing table and come up shy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, how long did it take from the LOI or the PSA up to the closing?
It took us about 6 weeks to get the PSA fully executed. So from the time we sent over the first PSA draft, it was about 6 weeks before it was fully executed. And again, this is kind of in the middle of
the COVID.
COVID. At one point, the sellers had to self-quarantine for 2 weeks, and at another point, their legal team had to quarantine for 2 weeks. So it was a mess. It was a headache. Once we had the PSA signed, when we closed in just shy of 60 days. So I want to say 57 days, give or take.
Okay. Yeah. Then I think like we reached the last portion of our show, which is the where I asked all these 5 sizzling questions to the guests. So the first question is, any lessons learned that you want to share from the deal analysis, due diligence, capital raise, closing?
Yeah, absolutely. A ton of lessons learned. Probably the most important would be to make sure on the front end that you have the right team in place. If you are teamed up with the wrong people, I mean, it can be a headache putting a deal together with the best team, right? Because there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of complex pieces at play. And there are so many times where I just felt so reassured that we had the team we did in place, because we're all willing to go above and beyond what's asked, to do more than what's expected, and to everyone's raising their hand saying, hey, I'll take this on, I'll do that, I'll help out here, how can I help? And I could not imagine the stress of going through that process with the wrong team. So I know it's exciting, if you have an opportunity come your way, but double down on your homework for who you're going into a partnership with. Make sure that they're the right people. Make sure they're the people that are going to have your back, and you're going to have their back. And, they're the people that you want to work with for the next 5 to 10 years or longer. So just that would be my best piece of advice, because fortunately the team we have they're all rock stars. So I'm super lucky to be a part of that team.
Yeah, you're also a rock star.
I'm working on rock star status, but thank you.
Yeah. So the second question, any recommended books?
You know what? Yes, I'm just in the middle of reading Stephen Schwartzman, What It Takes.
Oh, nice.
He is the CEO and founder of Blackstone, and amazing, incredible story, amazing book. And if it doesn't inspire you, I don't know what will. So
Oh, nice. And also Blackstone is really good. It's a good company. It's a big.
amazing story, amazing company. So go
Okay.
check it out and give it a read. It's really good.
Oh, nice. Maybe I'll add it into my list.
Perfect.
Yeah. Then the third question is, any recommended podcasts or YouTube that you are listening to and would recommend?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, and I cannot give enough love to Rod Cleef and the platform he's put together. So one of the few podcasts that I listen to religiously would be Rod's Lifetime Cash Flow.
Yep. I think I second that one. So that Rod is really good, and there's a lot of information from all the guests that he has in the show.
Oh man,
Definitely.
tremendous value.
Yes.
I listened to that podcast for now going on about a year and a half, and I've got to be pretty close to listening to every episode. And just listening to that podcast alone has taught me so much. And I have the confidence to go and talk to brokers. I know the lingo. I can talk confidently and influence others, and it's just provided such a great foundation of knowledge that is really the reason that I am where I am and progressing to where I'm going today.
That's nice. Then the fourth question is like, so this is the time that you promote yourself. What's your acquisition criteria for multifamily, like location, units, class? And this is to let everyone know and reach out to you if they have deals in those areas.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I'm remote, so I'm not going to be. I invest in the U.S., but I reside in Canada. So location is less of an issue geographically, as long as the market makes sense, and we can build a team around that market area. So a few areas specifically that we're interested in would be, South Texas. So San Antonio, Houston, Corpus Christi, Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia. There's some Jacksonville, Tampa, Orlando, Florida, of course, are excellent. We're interested in Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, Indianapolis. There's a lot of really hot markets out there. We're looking for B and C class assets with some value add potential, and we are looking for a size asset that can sustain self-management, or excuse me, an on-site manager. So typically that looks like 80 units and up. And the reason why we were able to close on a 46 unit in Corpus Christi is because we have a local property manager on the team who already has a portfolio and infrastructure in place that we can pull from there. So if you come across any opportunities that sound like they match that criteria, and you're looking for somebody to help put together a team to take that opportunity down, I would be more than happy to help and see if we can be a good fit. The specific value that I bring to a team is primarily related to acquisitions, underwriting, due diligence, at-risk capital, and capital raising.
Okay, that's great. Then what's the best way to contact you, Loren?
Facebook. I'm on Facebook. My email is Loren, Loren, at jcapitalrei.com. That's the letter J, CAPITALREI.com, or at jcapitalrei.com is our website.
Okay, thanks for that. And also for our listeners, I will put the Loren's contact information in the show notes. Then also the Facebook URL for him to go directly, so that you don't need to search for. Then I'll just give you the full URL.
Thank you very much, Jefferson.
Yeah, thank you for your time in being a guest here at the show. Appreciate it.
Of course. And one last parting note, if I may, is as you're going out and starting your journey and trying to break into multifamily real estate, keep this in the back of your mind and, be a giver. Operate from a giving mindset. The more you give, the more you will get. So as I've alluded to earlier, when I, go on to teams, I give much more than I take. And I try to give so much that any other partner on that team, when they find another deal or when they go work on another deal, they say, hey, I want to pull that guy along with me. And it's, it's worked and it's happening, and it will really give you a lot further faster if you come to a team or come to an opportunity with a point of what can I give rather than what can I take.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent takeaway, Loren, because having a giver mindset will really, it's a law of karma, kind of like the more you give, I mean, nothing, because the universe basically will return all those kind of value that you give to others.
Absolutely. And there's one more book for you, The Gogiver.
Oh yeah. That one. I was actually telling it in one of the previous show was that I asked my daughter because she wanted something, so I said you can do a book review in some of the books. Then she found this I mean, I found this Gogiver because it's not that thick, and it's easy. Like it's I think 100 pages plus only. It's
Like
a
a day
easy read.
read,
Yeah,
a
it's an easy.
parable.
Yeah. Then so I told her because I want to kind of instill also to my kids like the giver attitude that to give value. So I think that's the most
That's,
important thing in the world, especially in these COVID times. Like we need to help each other out. I think as
oh
much.
yeah, that's awesome. Absolutely. I mean, professionally, personally, in every aspect of your life, you know, you will just be rewarded,
Mhm.
you know, exponentially, if you have a giving mindset.
Yeah.
So it's so important. And you know, the two main reasons why we're doing this is one, our kids and our family, to be able to give more time to them, and two, to be able to give to more to those around us, you know, our family, our friends, our loved ones, and you know, those at large in need, right? So those are the things that we really enjoy doing, is being able to give and provide for others. So
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. I think you really have like a big heart, Loren.
uh, thank you, much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Jefferson, and you provide so much value for those in your network and for the group, and really appreciate you inviting me on and allowing me to hopefully provide some value as well.